So how many women do you think plan their pregnancies? I hope many, but my wife was really on top of things. She planned everything. We'd had our first son, we had a home birth, everything was wonderful with that. And he was growing up, and she and I planned on having another child. So she had it all mapped out. She knew when we were going to be pregnant, when she was going to deliver, and it was all going to fit into her schedule. Well, the first part didn't fit out quite as well as she wanted to, so we weren't pregnant when she thought we would be. And when we finally were pregnant, then she had her plan back in place. So there's a new plan in place. We have our birth plan laid out. We're working with a wonderful midwife, the same one that helped us with our first son. And we're going through this wonderful pregnancy. She's doing tremendously well. In fact, this time around, she's not even having the morning sickness like she was with our son. She hasn't lost 12 pounds like she did with our son. We think that this is all smooth sailing. So we're doing great. And we go through the hot summer, we get into the beautiful fall, and we get into Thanksgiving, and she's starting to have contractions. And that's pretty expected because we're going to be delivering in the next couple of weeks. We're having dinner at my parents' house, and we're joking with my parents that you're going to have a baby at your house because we're having a home birth, and this is the only home we're in right now. So it's time to, make sure you get ready. And my parents weren't too thrilled about that. But we made it through Thanksgiving, got back home. Everything's going well. She's getting adjusted through the whole pregnancy. Everything's looking good until that day. That one day that I check her, and I realize that our baby isn't going head down, that she's head up and butt down, and that she could be breech. And I didn't say anything to her, and I still feel kind of bad about that because I'm keeping something from my wife, and I don't do that. But the midwife's coming the next day or two, so we're going to find out if I'm right, because I don't want to be wrong and tell her that the baby's not in position and have her worried. So the midwife comes in and she checks her, and everything's looking good until she checks the position of the baby. And sure enough, her eyes go down, and she gives me that look, and I said, "She isn't head down, is she?" And she said, "No." She said, "She's not, so you guys need to start preparing for her potentially being breech, and here's these resources, and you need to study it and see if you still want to have a home birth with her being breech." And so we did our homework and figured out that if we have to do it, then yes, we're going to have a breech baby at home because we didn't have all these other risk factors that would keep us from being there, and that it is actually possible to have a breech baby at home. And we had a well-trained midwife. She had plenty of experience delivering breech babies at home. So we start to do the process of what do you do to see if you can get this baby to turn head down so that maybe we can avoid that breech birth. And so I learned a bunch more things because my thing I do in my office is I help moms with, keeping in alignment, and that's what I've been helping my wife with. So I obviously need to learn more things. So I go out and I learn a bunch more stuff to make sure that I've covered all the bases that, give my baby a chance that she can get her head down and get out of this birth without having to go through a breech process. We go to the acupuncturist. We, do just about everything. We go to special swimming classes, and we're trying to get her to turn. And actually, one night she did turn. She turned for just a few hours and then turned right back to breech. So we went into labor on the day after Christmas. We made it all the way through the holidays. That was my wife's goal as part of her plan now that's changed. So we had this plan, then we have chaos, and now we have a plan again. And so now we feel a little settled in because we've gone through all this emotion and all this change, and now we have our plan again. Well, I'm stressed out. And just like anybody who's stressed out, you cause some tension. And so we wake up in the morning the day after Christmas, and I have a bunch of people that I need to see in the office. And so I'm ready to go help people, and I'm driving my wife crazy at the same time. I'm ready to go help people and look out the window. There's a huge ice storm outside. Everything is shut down. The highways are shut down. The midwife might not make it to us because the highways are shut down. They're starting to close the toll road, which is her access to us. We're really starting to get stressed out. We don't have anybody to watch our son, who's going to be here for the home birth, but we want somebody to entertain him and make sure he stays out of trouble at age 5 going into this birth. And so our in-laws show up, they make it through the ice storm, and they come running in the house, and they're there to help. And I spend the next 9 hours with my wife, and about 2 hours into this labor, the midwife shows up, and we have her there. And she's there to help us. She's coming off of a birth the night before, and everybody starts to breathe a little bit easier, but we're still really stressed out because we have this breech baby coming. And the original plan was that it was going to be the midwife, myself, and the doula in the room. And what happened was we actually had her whole family in the room. We had her sister and her mom. My son sat beside me as my wife actually laid on top of me as she gave birth, and the midwife caught the baby. And that wasn't according to plan at first because I was supposed to catch the baby. And so now she's catching this beautiful Breech little girl, and she comes out perfect. She had no problems whatsoever. One of the highest APGAR scores you can imagine, and she was Breech. And we did our homework, we did our research, we did everything we needed to do to figure out this was the right situation for us. And we were lucky enough to have an incredibly experienced midwife who could guide us through that process, and that art is becoming lost. So I encourage you that if you're pregnant, have a plan, but look to see if that plan changes. Don't just go for high intervention. Go for the safest thing for you that meets your health philosophy. Seek out your resources in your area ahead of time so you know if different things happen that you can meet the needs of your family, that you can have the safest birth possible. Because it was possible. It did all go according to plan. My little girl was supposed to be born Breech. She had the cord wrapped around her neck and everything happened just like it was supposed to happen. So birth is a natural event and we need to support women in that process.